King to learnit.
Hello, everybody. This is King Tut here, and welcome to your 24th C++ tutorial. I'm gonna be teaching you guys in this kind of format. It's gonna be PowerPoint because I keep on stumbling, and um, I hope this becomes better. So, in this tutorial, I'm gonna be teaching you guys polymorphism. We're going back to object-oriented programming. And polymorphism is really important. But before we dive in, what is polymorphism? Polymorphism means many forms in Greek, or by many forms. And as the name suggests, it's a it's a concept in object-oriented programming where the base class can take many forms, and these forms are the ones that are different classes that inherits the base class, the inherited class. So as you see here, this is an example of having many forms. If you guys watch Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, you'd understand this guy is Frieza, and he could be this form, or this form, and in Dragon Ball Super he could be the Golden Frieza. I just hope YouTube doesn't take this down because I couldn't find a better example other than this. So how do you implement polymorphism? You declare a base class variable and you set it to a new inherited class. So for example, let's just um, let's just declare a class car and we define all of that stuff. And then once we put the class car variable into the main, like I showed you in the last tutorial, we put the asterisk and then we put the class variable name that we want to call it based off the class that we want to make use of. And then we set it equal to new, instead of new car, it could be new Ferrari or new Ford if you made the class Ferrari or Ford and inherit and make that class inherit from the car class. You might wonder, well, um, why not we just do class have the class Ferrari variable or class Ford variable or class Chevy variable and and initialize it in that fashion? Well, because it's going to be cumbersome, first of all, and second of all, we don't want it's we want this one class here to be different classes, and we want we want to organize our program in a nice and neat way. That's all I could that's all I could explain. It's all about neatness, organization, and ease of use. This is way easier just to put in a car class variable and set it as new as new inherited class instead of just having each of these part be declared and then be and initialize it as new that class, if that makes sense. So that's the first step of implementing polymorphism. um, Also, you need to have virtual and abstract functions to make the class polymorphic. So that's another reason why that you wanted to declare a base class variable and then set it to different inherited class because of virtual and abstract functions. We're going to be making use of virtual and abstract functions. And I'm gonna explain it in a different slide. So what are virtual and what is abstract functions? So a virtual functions allow a base class the option to define its own class, to define its own functions, define its own function, and allow other class to make use of that function and define its own function without making use of the function that the base class has. So it's more like the base class has print car type, and it prints out I am a car, but once you declare a class variable car and set it to new Ferrari, it's gonna still print out I am a car unless you declare a void print car type and you override it. You just define I am a Ferrari, print out I'm a Ferrari. That overwrites the car. So instead of the car printing I am a car, it's printing what you have defined in the Ferrari class. And the same thing with the Ford and Chevy class. Every class that inherits car, if you define it in the inherited class, the car class will not make use of this function. It's going to make use of the function of its inherited class. Abstract functions is literally kind of like void functions, but the difference here is the functions of the base class, you cannot define it. You have to set it equal to 0. And I forgot to implement virtual keyword. You have to put the virtual void function or virtual ints to get this to work. And I'm going to show you an example in Cevelop in a minute. But in abstract functions, you can't define any class, any definition in the base class function, for the function. But the inherited class must have the same void print car type, for example, have the same functions in the data type of the function and the same parameters, and must define its own functions. There's some instances where it's useful, and there's some instances where it's not useful in abstract functions. And there's some instances where it's useful in just the normal virtual functions, and there's some instances that is not useful, and you need to use abstract functions. All right, so let's get to Cevelop, and let's take out all of these stuff. Let's take out all the functions, and let's keep car here. Actually, let's take out all of it. Let's take out all the encapsulation, and let's just put void print. Let me just, what did I put? Print car type. Not car. And let's put a semicolon to end the statement. And let's put cout I am a car. And let's copy all of this and let's paste it. Some programmers will tell you this is not good programming practice when you're copying and pasting, because you don't know if you're gonna get an errors, but of course you're gonna get an error if you're not aware of what you're doing. Class Ferrari, and let's let it inherit car, and then I am a Ferrari. And let's do the same thing for Ford and Chevy. So let's not make it capitalized. All right. One thing that you need to do before you make use of polymorphism. For the polymorphism to work, there you go. You need to put in virtual. I didn't put it in my presentation. That's my mistake. I'll correct it before I'll put a link to the description and have you guys download the PowerPoint. So you need to put virtual void print card type, or else polymorphism will not work. And let's just take all of these out. And then let's just take out all of these, all the stuff that I put in the last tutorial. And then instead of new car, let's put new Ferrari. Boom. And then C, print car type. And let's see what happens when we run. It should print out I am a Ferrari. And it printed out I am a Ferrari, like expected. And just so you know, don't worry about the file name. I'm gonna get this changed before I upload it to GitHub. So what happened if I comment out I'm a Ferrari? Well, if you didn't overwrite any of the functions, actually, let's see what happened if I take the functions itself out. If I took the function out of an inherited class, this class will print out its own function, its own virtual function. So let's run that program. See? Since there's no functions that is being overwritten that overwrites this function, car will actually make use of its own function and print out I am a car. So let's put that back. Let's see what happens if I actually comment out the definition. Will this will make use of its own function, or will car will make use of the print car type function from Ferrari? And the answer is car, the base class will make use of the functions that is being overwritten by an inherited class. So it doesn't matter if there's an empty definition, the inherited class will also make use of its own function. As long as you put the same function, that same function to as the base class that has the virtual on it, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just the inherited class will make use of its own function. I just hope I'm not overcomplicating things. You get the idea. Let's try an abstract function. So you keep the virtual keyword, but you set this whole function equal to 0. And then when I take this out, let's run this program. Let's see what happens. You get an error. And the reason why you get an error is because it says no, because following virtual functions are pure within Ferrari. So it's another way of calling it a pure virtual function. I call it abstract functions because I'm pretty sure most programming language make use of the abstract functions and abstract class concept, and C++ is no different. It's different terminology, but the same concept. So this is why, so I get an error here because I declared this to be abstract, and which means every inherited class must overwrite the base class of which it has its own virtual function. So let's just put it back here and let's run this program. There you go. It gets nothing because I commented out. So there you go. That polymorphism. That's how you make use of polymorphism in C++. And I hope this video is helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you really like my video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, BitChute, or BitTube, please subscribe to my channel. If you're on Vlare, please follow my channel. If you're on Library, please follow my channel and download my video. And I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Bye!